Daryl, how you doing?
I'm great. How's it going, Larry?
Good, man. Starting to be real busy.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm working on going live. Just give me a second to ensure that we're good to go. Okay, we are on Facebook Live. Okay, so we're going to start. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our weekly webinar, The State of Your Business. My name is Denise Babiche. I am the Membership Service Director for the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. And as most of you know, we have these webinars every week, every Tuesday at 3 o'clock on Zoom or Facebook Live. So wherever you are watching us from, make sure to interact, ask questions in the chat or comment them in the comment box on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Zoom, then you can put it in the chat and we'll make sure to get to your questions at the end of the presentation. So make sure to stay on the entire time. So at the beginning portion of our webinar, we do like to give an opportunity to community businesses to come on and feature their business and talk about their business, let us know what they do, how to get in contact with them, and so on. So if you are a business owner within DFW and you would like to be featured, just make sure to fill out the form and we'll get in contact with you whenever we have an opening for that. So our first business for the day, well, the business that we have for today is going to be Larry Kemp. Give me 1 second. I'll have him on and he'll tell you all about his business. Hi, Larry.
How you doing?
All
Hello?
right. We're here. So let us know all
Okay.
about your business.
Okay. My name is Larry Kemp. I am the managing owner of Kemp& Sons General Services. We're a 48-year-old family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company. Most recently, like everybody since COVID-19, we've had to pivot and do things differently. We were heavily focused in the educational arena and at DFW Airport, but airport travel is down 85%, and schools are basically working remotely. So now I say we're going back to basics. We have a heavy marketing campaign in the Southeast and African American community, and we're going back into homes, doing sanitization, and making sure a home is ready for all the COVID-19 protocols. So, um, like I said, commercial cleaning business. Today, doing more boots on ground, back in the residential homes, etc. Um, just trying to remain to the necessary things to clean and to fight off these diseases which have become part of our lives today. Um, I can be reached email Larry at kempensons.net. My cell number is 682-239-9051. My office number is 866-881-8815. Again, this cell is 682-239-9051 and office 866-881-8815. And our website should be, it's in the process of being redone, and it's kempensons.net. And you can follow us on Facebook at Kemp& Sons General Services. Just, we've always been active in the community. The Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber has been a big part of our success, and we feel it will continue to be. I always say our company is kind of like a poster child for a chamber, because I think anything's possible, and I think we've shown the African American community you can start small, go to business big as you want. So we take our hat off to the chamber for what they do each and every day. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. We definitely appreciate you being part of the chamber and having your support for so many years. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we wish you all the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So that is all the businesses we have for today. We had Larry Kemp from Kemp and Sons. Make sure to go follow them on social media, contact them for any janitorial projects that you may have. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my coworker, Daryl Brewer. He's our economic development manager, and he'll be proceeding with the economic development portion of our webinar. Daryl.
Thank you, Denise. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am Daryl Brewer, the Economic Development Manager here at the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. And we are welcoming you again to our weekly webinar. The first thing I want to do is just talk a little bit about just economic development in general. One thing I want to highlight is that Southeast Connector State Representative Nicole Collier, she had a meeting last week, Zoom meeting last week, and it was regarding contracting, and she had various contractors on there, prime contractor for Roville, she had Poster on there, she had TxDOT on, as well as a bonding agent. So if you missed that, you want information about it, certainly email me and I will provide you with the information, but it was very important. You have to understand that that's $2 billion that's going to be spent in the African-American community, meaning in the location of the African-American community. And it's our challenge to try to get some of the money into the pockets of the African-American community in Southeast Fort Worth. And so for those of you who may not be familiar with the location I'm talking about, it is I-20 as you head into Arlington, is 820 as you head into Arlington, 287, where those three highways come together. If you've been there in any time in rush hour, you know that's just a big mess. And so the state of Texas set aside $2 billion to fix that. So that's going to be like a 5-year project. It's a great opportunity, and we could just get a good percentage of that. We could change a lot of things in Southeast Fort Worth. So it's very important that if you are a contractor who can work on those types of projects, whether you can provide concrete, lay concrete, whether you can do something like the flag people or dirt, earth haulers, all those types of things that have to do with heavy highway equipment, please give me a call or email me. My email is dbrewer@fwmbcc.org. dbrewer@fwmbcc.org. We want to connect you as best we can so that you can have the opportunity to get in on this project. Also, want to make you aware that, again, it looks like there may be some more financial grants coming out again. So I just implore you, whether you got part of the PPP money or whether you got part of the Preserve the Fort or Protect the Fort, whether you did or didn't, go ahead and make sure you get your books straight in terms of income taxes, how you set up with the city, the state, county, whatever. Get those things in line, because those were some of the reasons that people were denied or businesses were denied, or reasons some of you didn't even apply because you knew that those things weren't lined up. So go ahead and get that together now, because I'm pretty confident something else will be coming down the road. And the city of Fort Worth, I've set aside $10 million. And so far, the city of Fort Worth has given some $6 million away. So, and those, pretty much everybody who applied that had those things, basic things in order, they pretty much got funded. So definitely want you to take care of those things so that you won't get left out. Okay. Now we're up to our main presentation point today, and it is Trinity Alliance, and we also have Trinity Metro. And so I'm going to hand it over to Rachel Albright. She's the president of Trinity Transit Alliance. Rachel, are you there?
Tarrant Transit Alliance, Daryl.
Yeah, I sure am. Yeah, and it's the Tarrant Transit Alliance, and we are so happy to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting us. I'm Rachel Albright, and we have my my partner, Andre McEwing, who is the board chair, and I am going to share my screen really quickly. Are you guys able to see that?
We see you.
You see me? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I'm going to let Andre take it away for the first couple slides.
Yeah, and good afternoon. Again, thank you today to the Fort Metropolitan Black Chamber, Daryl, Denise, to the entire team, your president, Dee Jennings. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am the chairman of the Tarrant Transit Alliance, formerly board member of Trinity Metro, and on the National APTA Board, American Public Transportation Association. So we bring a wealth of knowledge in terms of advocacy is concerned. And back in 2017, the Tarrant Transit Alliance was formed to help educate, advocate, and galvanize support for improved transit services in Tarrant County. We showed up at City Council, and we're hoping we'll talk about showing up again next week for the 2018 budget hearing, asking that they use one or two of the 3 tax pennies that were being proposed they were cutting, but to support the budget instead of funding transit. We wanted to it almost happened, but 2 city council members decided not to attend that evening, and the meeting for that vote was not able to take place, forcing the issue to today. We've been waiting ever since for Fort Worth to make a real investment, a real commitment to make this a better place for all in terms of workforce and how this city is going to grow and move with everybody involved. In 2017, the mayor asked that we show her that Fort Worth citizens really care about transit. That's been our goal since then and longer for some. We hope to share information today to only talk about Trinity Metro and what they're requesting and what the city has prepared to fund and not fund. So we want to make sure we educate that information and provide that information today, but also to share some quick facts to help you understand why funding transit is important right now, today. Before we move forward, a little bit about TTA. It's a coalition of individuals and businesses who are working to educate, empower, and mobilize policy around transit that serves the entire region and all neighborhoods involved. We're not city planners. We're not transit planners. We don't work for Trinity Metro. We're about advocacy, grassroots, community-based advocacy, business-based advocacy on a day-to-day basis. We're a group that believes that transit has taken a back seat, literally speaking, for far too long, and it's time to be in the front seat and drive in the driver's seat, and to prioritize the transit investment that creates business in the city of Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Although we are the 3rd largest county in Texas and the 15th largest in the US, our transit system does not reflect our population size. TTA was founded and funded by a partnership between the regional, the Real Estate Council of Greater Fort Worth, Trinity Metro, Tarrant County College, and Blue Zones. We have over 150 members, individuals, and companies. So there are 3 ways that you can help support this effort. First, let me speak to the upcoming City Council meeting on August 25th at 7 o'clock. We need you there. This is a call to action to make sure that transit is on the front burner, in the front seat of all of the budget process being delivered by City Manager David Cook. The second is to call and write City Council showing your support. You may have seen our support letter that has over 80 logos of support from nonprofits to companies. And we're going to continue that campaign to ensure that we make our voices heard loud and clear downtown the City Hall of Fort Worth. The third is to attend and speak at the town halls. The city is putting on now through September the 8th. So we encourage each of you to be a part of that communication downtown at City Hall. If the last few months have taught us anything, it's that transit is essential is an essential service. Transit gets our essential frontline employees to work. Transit creates equity for all, and transit creates otherwise unfulfilled opportunities for education and access to good paying jobs. Although Trinity Metro has experienced a decrease in ridership since the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders, they are still moving around. People are still going to work, still having to go to the hospital and getting medical and having medical appointments, taking them to the grocery store and getting to work. We understand the city of Fort Worth is facing a budget shortfall for the next fiscal year. However, without the ability for people to get to work, we face an additional employment crisis, which ultimately affects our tax base and the ability for them to do what is needed for their citizens, for our citizens. We absolutely cannot be short-sighted in a decision as important as this and neglect both the present and the future of Fort Worth. Even during the pandemic, other cities are pushing major transit projects. City of Austin has an 8.75% property tax. Austin will also put up $465 million safe and multimodal transportation bond on the ballot, which includes $19 million for transit enhancement. DART, Dallas Area Rapid Transit, is moving forward with many projects. A new silver line connecting DFW Airport to Plano and downtown subway tunnel, etc. San Antonio, with the VIA system, will have a 1/8 cent sales tax increase on the ballot in November. The city will use these funds for COVID relief for 3 to 4 years. We don't even compare. We don't compare to the other major cities in Texas when you look at per capita funding. Here's some data points to remember. Between 2014 and 18, the data that we have available, the average per capita spending for Trinity Metro was $91. Compare that to DART at $253. $91 for a citizen in Fort Worth compared to $253 for a citizen at DART. Now think about DART's system. We really do get the system that we pay for. It's a snowball effect. This leads to limited service, means less frequent headways and fewer lines, bus lines, commuter lines, multimodal lines. This leads to a lack of connectivity in our region, to jobs, to places of restaurants and work, which means our population is reliant on more expensive means of transportation. Yes, it costs more. Yes, it is expensive. The annual transportation cost for a Fort Worth resident is around $12,885 a year. Consider that 20% of the Fort Worth residents earn less than $25,000 a year. That's over half of their income. So as we said, transit means business, transit means safety, transit means jobs. And I'll turn it over to Rachel to give you some more insight about TTA and what our commitment is. Rachel?
Thanks, Andre. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the budget request that's coming up. The city began a Transit Moves Fort Worth master plan back in 2017, and we've been waiting for this plan to be finalized so city staff and consultants can make official recommendations as what needs to happen in our city. This is a 25-year, multi-billion-dollar plan that went before council in June, and we really don't want this to be another study that sits on the shelf. So last time we talked with you all, we showed you this budget request from Trinity Metro for around $10 million. And just want to highlight that this is the first step towards the Transit Moves Fort Worth master plan. The items were selected by Trinity Metro's planners as service buy-ups that the city can participate in to make the plan a reality. The planners were strategic, and the fact that they addressed equity issues identified by the Race and Culture Task Force, as well as emphasizing job access. This is incremental investment by the city so they can partner with Trinity Metro to make sure the Transit Moves Fort Worth master plan happens, and so we can catch up with our peer cities. So this is the budget that they requested. And we also mentioned that we asked individuals, nonprofits, local businesses, and associations to sign a letter supporting this budget. So far, we have received 86 organizations' logos that represent over 3,100 companies and over 31,500 individuals. If this doesn't show that Fort Worth supports transit, I don't know what does. So I'm going to show you the budget here again for your reference. And bolded here is what City Manager David Cook is suggesting the city actually invests in. That is half of the requested budget for the new route network, sidewalks and ADA improvements for 3 stops, continuing their 2-year commitment from last year for the near South Side zip zone, and an extra $350,000, Yes, $350,000 in unallocated funds. That's a total of $1.5 million out of the almost $10 million ask. And we believe that's simply not enough. So what the city missed, just going to go through it really quickly. Increased frequency. That's increased frequency on Route 6 and 25. These are top 5 highest ridership corridors. They were going to increase the frequency from every 30 minutes to every 15 minutes in a service population of 81,899 individuals. That is 65% people of color. They are not funding the Southeast Zip Zone. This is a flexible route service similar to Uber or Lyft. Right now they have zip zones in Crowley, in the Mercantile area, the near South Side, and Alliance. And this is a picture here of where that zip zone area was proposed to go. It would serve nearly 55,000 people with a more reasonable wait time of 10 minutes to wait for your ride as opposed to 60 minutes where it is today. This service would also provide much needed transportation for the people in this area. The city is also not funding the Alliance Zip Zone expansion. This is the current Alliance Zip Zone area, which serves almost 14,000 people. And the extended zip zone would have the ability to serve about 60,021 people with a 45% person of color population. The city is not funding the Alliance Express service. This shows a representation that I made on Google Maps, so this is not the official route by any means, of the area the service would where it would go. It would provide an excellent connection between the employers and Alliance and the area in Southeast Fort Worth. They were looking at a service with guaranteed arrival time, possibly. This is a premium service to get workers from Southeast Fort Worth downtown up to the Alliance area and vice versa. The city is not funding the Amazon route. This would provide transit access to 2,300 jobs, maybe even as many as 4,000 jobs, depending on how much it increases in size, at the Amazon Distribution Center, serving a 75% person of color population. They are not funding the East Transfer Center and the improvements thereof. This is where the East Transfer Center is, and it serves 5 routes and a majority of transit-dependent riders. Trinity Metro is looking for investments to improve safety and security at this facility. They are not funding the signage improvements that were needed to help Trinity Metro share information about the routes and how to get around. I don't know if you've ever ridden the bus and gone to a bus stop that is just a sign. You don't really know where you're going, which route you may be on. More information is needed for those that aren't native to the system. And finally, they are not funding, solar panels at bus stops. They were looking to install 50 solar panels at 50 different bus stops to ensure that there is light at the end of the day so that you can get on and off of the bus safely and see where you're going. So TTA believes that a better Fort Worth transit system is possible, but it requires incremental investment by the city from the people who receive it. We're getting the system that we pay for right now. So I'm sharing here a few places where you can get involved. We have a city council meeting on August 25th at 7 p.m. There are also district town halls, but you can actually attend any of them. You don't have to be a member of or a resident of District 8 or District 5 to attend these. You can attend as is to learn more about the budget and ask questions about why they made the choices they did, as well as advocate for increased transit service. And you can also go to tarranttransitalliance.org/public-meetings for more information and to get talking points in case you need some help figuring out what exactly you want to say. And just in case you're not a member of TTA, I'm doing a brief push here just to say that you can join for as low as $20 annually if you're a student, $50 annually if you're an individual, or $10 a month. And this is how to contact us. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Kieran with Trinity Metro, who's going to talk a little bit about the system redesign that they're going through.
All right, thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kiran Vemuri. I'm a Senior Director of Planning. Today, I'm going to share some interesting information about the project that we are doing right now. It is called A Better Connection. So a better connection project is about redesigning our entire route network. It is not some minor changes to some routes, but it is entire route network. So I'll give you a little bit background about this region. Actually, the present route network is more than 20 years old. And at that time, the system was designed based on the population and the travel patterns of the people at the time. But now Fort Worth has grown so much, particularly in the last 10 years. We have seen double-digit growth in terms of population and jobs. New employment centers came up and the population moved to new areas, travel patterns changed, and population density also changed. For example, southwest part of the city, we see so much population density now, it is almost all equal to the medical district. So to address all these things and to properly serve the passengers to our customers, we initiated this project, and it is called a Better Connection project. Let me share my screen. I have a small presentation. All right, with this project, basically we want to focus on our customers' needs and serve their travel patterns very well. At the same time, we want to improve efficiency of the existing system, and we want to put the investment where it is needed most. And also the underlying purpose of this project is to implement Transit Moves Fort Worth study that Rachel mentioned previously. And one of the recommendations in that study is redesigning the route network. So we mentioned this Transit Moves Fort Worth study a few times already. So what is the difference between this one and a better connection? Well, Transit Moves Fort Worth study, it is a study. It is a master plan that analyzes the transit demand of this region, how we can fund that expansion, and it presented 3 different scenarios, how we can achieve that growth. Whereas this project, A Better Connection, it is about redesigning the existing network. And it is basically like fixing the foundation of the system on which we can implement the future changes. How we are going to do it? There are simply 3 steps. One is analyze the existing demand of the riders, and then analyze the population density, and then we visit and talk with our customers to see what they need. And also we visit to the community, we ask input from everyone, existing riders, potential riders, everyone. And based on their input, then we will go and redesign the network. So the timeline for this project is we started this project in January with analysis of existing conditions. And we successfully finished that in July. Now we are in the second stage where we are defining goals of the new system. This is an important part. If we ask our customers, they have so many needs, but at the same time, we have limited resources. So we cannot implement all the needs at once. We have to think about the trade-offs. So we have to ask their input. There is a lot of things that we need to do in gathering the requirements of the population, of the riders. So that is the second stage that we are in right now. We have initiated an extensive public outreach program right now. I will talk about you in a few minutes. And after we finish that public input, then we will move on to develop different route networks. And again, we will come back to our riders, to the public, to select different options from those route networks and prepare the final plan. So once the new network is ready, we are anticipating it to be ready by March next year. In the fall, we are going to implement the new route network. So right now we are in the public outreach process. In this process, basically we are seeking your input about goals and trade-offs. What are the primary requirements we have to consider while developing the new routes? So in this survey form, basically these are the things that are in the survey form. You have to pick up 3 out of 9 priorities where you are in various service options like amenities. Out of those 9 priorities, I can say now, do you want more frequency? Do you want more service during nights? Do you want more service during the day? Usually, if you look at any transit agency, they have more frequency during peak hours and less frequency during non-peak hours. But Trinity Metro is different. Fort Worth is different. Basically, we see demand for transit throughout the day. So some people are asking about more service on Sundays and more during the weekends also. So these are the different options in the service. Please select 3 out of them. And then there are certain trade-offs that we have to consider. For example, next one is walking or waiting, which means are riders willing to walk a little bit, few blocks away to get a more frequent service, or do they don't want to walk, but they would like to wait? Would they like to have a fixed route in their neighborhood, or would they want something like a zip zone on-demand service? Do they want something like a downtown-centric system, which means all the routes come to, most of the routes come to downtown? That is exactly what we are doing right now. Or do they want more direct system? For example, if there are more riders in the southeast part of the city, and if they want to go to Mercantile directly without coming to downtown, so please let us know so that we can change some routes where there will be direct connection between southeast part of the city to Mercantile area, or southeast part of the city to Hewlett Mall, something like that, instead of coming to downtown. And there is a question about a peak or off peak. Would you like to have more frequency during peak, or would you like to have consistent service throughout the day? And there are some questions about demographics. Please tell about yourself, kind of thing. So this is the survey that we have on our website. Please go there and fill out the survey. Let us know what you want, what you expect from us, what you expect from the new route network. Not only we are focusing on the potential riders, we are focusing very much on the existing riders. We are using our envoys, transit envoys, to go talk one-on-one with our existing riders, get their information. And then we have Facebook Live events. Unfortunately, we can't have direct public meetings now because of this pandemic. So we are using Facebook Live events to conduct public meetings. We had one in the first week of August. Now 2 more are coming. One on 19th, this Wednesday, in fact, tomorrow. That is a Spanish version. And the next week, another one, it is English. Both events are at 6:30 p.m. So if you get a chance, please attend those events. Our consultant, Christoph Spiller, who is a transit expert, he's renowned throughout the country. He's helping us to do this project. He's going to answer your questions. So this is a perfect opportunity to tell us what you want, what you expect from the system. And based on your input, we are going to design the new route network. So any questions?
Karan? Hey, Karan, this is Andre.
Hey, Andre.
When has the actual survey of people, has it started?
The surveys?
Yeah.
The surveys have started.
So what percent of surveys what kind of measure are you using to determine how many folks have responded?
So based on the sample size of 850,000 people, there are 850,000 people in our service area. And based on the confidence level of 95%, we are doing the statistical sampling here. Confidence level of 95% and confidence interval of 5, we are targeting around 650 survey responses that we can use. And the good news is we already exceeded that target. And we
Okay.
still have 10 more days.
All right. Okay. And the end of the survey is when?
First week of September.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Karan, thank you so much for your presentation. Rachel, thank you. And Andre, thank you for your presentation. Denise, let me just go ahead and see if we have any questions from the audience, whether it be on Facebook or what have you. I got a bunch of questions. There's a lot of information you guys presented. So it's kind of, I want to chew it up and really get some clarity. Denise, but I want to see if we have any audience first question. Denise? And Karim, could you just stop sharing your screen, please?
Sure, Daryl. Thank you.
We do not have any questions on live.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. And no questions in the chat.
Okay. Well, I got plenty. So, Andre, you were mentioning that, of course, the city of Fort Worth is the 13th largest city in the country, and both you and Rachel are alluding to that we're not investing like other cities close to our size. Now, why do you think that has been the case to this point?
That's a subjective, only to say they haven't wanted to make that investment, the city and council. So when I was on the board, a little history here, I got put on the board 8 years ago. At that time, the focus, we've been more project focused versus, let me just answer this way, we've been more project focused versus regional focus. So back then when we were on the board, the entire board was changed. And the reason being that we had not gotten enough far with TexRail. So it wasn't about buses 8 years ago. So we missed that opportunity. We focused on the shiny object, TexRail, versus moving people to jobs. We're more concerned with getting TexRail funded, and we didn't have a parallel process to continue funding for the bus system. So that was one reason. Secondly, based on where we are, quite frankly, Daryl, in this city, we're more heavily driven by TxDOT investments than by bus investments. So we're more concerned about I-35, I-20, 820, 287 than we are about the internal density of where people live, work, and want to go to work. So we're more focused on getting TxDOT funding, which we don't hardly get any funding, state of Texas funding, compared to like the state of Tennessee. We don't hardly get any state funding from TxDOT. So that's a major problem. So there's not an appetite from the political people that make the laws, that appropriate the dollars to create that opportunity in the city of Fort Worth for transit, as our neighbors to the east and neighbors to the south do.
I'll also just add to that it doesn't seem like it's really been a political priority in the past. It really just, there hasn't been any major investment. Nobody is running on a platform that they're going to increase public transportation. It's just not a part of the political culture right now. And so, if you have a difficult decision to make about where you're going to spend your income, and if the state is applying caps to where you are able to spend as a city, if nobody's asking you to do it, you're going to go someplace else.
And Daryl, lastly, the other half cent is with CCPD. Okay, and this is not a defunding conversation, but it's about transit creating jobs for people that need jobs.
Well, I was going to ask a different question, but I was going to get to that. So our sales rate is currently 0.0825. You mentioned some other cities in the state of Texas that they were going to add some other funding percentage, pennies, et cetera. Now, is that to their sales tax, or is that to property tax? And if it's sales tax, what is that going to bring their sales tax rate up to compared to ours?
My understanding is that the tax increase that they're putting on in Austin is a property tax increase, and their property tax is actually much lower from a residential standpoint than we are in Fort Worth. But there's all sorts of other stuff going on that it's not in my wheelhouse. So, but I'm pretty sure it's a property tax increase. And then the San Antonio via, I believe, is actually a sales tax increase. But let me double check my notes. Yeah.
It is. And Daryl, and so Daryl, also, our council is more concerned about reducing taxes versus increasing as it relates to property and those things. And so, the appetite here is to be tax neutral and not have any impact, right? And so what we're trying to bypass and go to the budget without impacting. That's where we're going with the 10 million. We want to go straight to direct to the general fund budget without impacting taxes. So we recognize the sensitivity of taxes. So we're trying to be a part of the general fund budget, which in Tennessee, where Paul Ballard, our ex-CEO, they were a part of the state's budget. Okay, that's how committed they were to transit, whereas we're not even committed to that level. So yeah, that conversation about tax comes up, but there are other avenues to bypass it. And again, CCPD is the other half cent. So it's where do you want to invest your money?
Well, and I'm going to add one more thing to that, Andre.
I got other questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Daryl.
You only have so much time.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Okay, because you didn't get to my question about comparing. You mentioned San Antonio. Well, how much is San Antonio's sales tax rate right now?
They're all different. They're all different.
Well, that's why I'm asking you.
No, but that's not the argument of where the reason why the council is not going that route. We've got a 0.5% that's off the table totally, is what we're saying. Our argument is sales tax, not property tax. It's sales tax because the generation.
Austin was according to what Rachel just told me. Austin was property tax, and San Antonio is sales tax. That's why you guys the one who mentioned it to me, because I would not have known. And I'm just trying to compare, because I'm a salesperson by nature, and how much the stuff costs is relative to what that costs. How much does it compare to that? What are they doing there? Y'all mentioned all these other places.
So the per capita, the easiest way, and we use those as measures, Daryl, but the easiest way to measure authorities is the per capita. And that's what you need, looking at per capita rate of what's spent per capita. So as far as sales tax, you're getting into the weeds.
I can answer that though. I just Googled it. So San Antonio is remaining 8.25%. Right. That is not different between Fort Worth and San Antonio. It's more how they spend that money that is different. So Fort Worth gets a 0.5 penny that goes to Trinity Metro for sales tax. Dallas gets the full penny. San Antonio, I think, gets less than 0.5 penny, but is adding that another eighth and taking it from something else. And that's what they're going to be voting on in November. But the 8.25% remains the same.
Right.
Okay. So, I'm just asking my questions based on the information you guys presented, because it was unclear to me, and I'm trying to compare apples to apples since you guys brought up the other apple. Okay. So, okay. And I understand you got the point that you're trying to make, which y'all spent, 15, 20 minutes making your point. But I'm trying to clarify and be clear on what's, for me and what I think other people may be in their mind based upon the things that you brought up. Now, another question, what other organizations, I know you said you have a bunch that signed off, but what are the grassroots organizations?
Pull up our map. It's on our map. Okay. The logo map we put up.
And then, so the other question I have is, what is the ethnic background of the ridership by percentage of Trinity Metro?
Karan?
I'm sorry, not Trinity Metro, but the whole Trinity Metro would be certainly one that we would be looking at.
Ask that question again, Daryl. Not clear.
What is the ethnic breakdown of the ridership of Trinity Metro?
Karan, do you have that, Karan?
Well, I don't have that information right now, but I can give that information. We have to dig that information. So I have to give that later.
Daryl, one thing I can say, haven't showed on the board, at least 65%, I'm gonna use that number in total. It doesn't break down by African-American, Asian, or Latinos, but at least 65% of the ridership is minority.
Okay. And then I'm looking at the things that you guys mentioned, that what the city is funding, well, what the city is not funding. And it sounds like to me, most of the things that the city of Fort Worth is not funding is in Southeast Fort Worth when you start talking about the zip zones in Southeast Fort Worth. Yeah, well, I say, and rides from Southeast Fort Worth to places like Alliance, whether that's the Alliance Express or the Amazon. Is that correct?
So if you do the math on 9.9 million there, Daryl, about 2/3 of that, I'd say a little over less than 2/3 of 9.9 million is probably related to Southeast Fort Worth.
I didn't understand that, bro.
So 9.9, you see what on the screen there, 9.97 million?
No, I can't see that.
Okay, so that'd be the easiest way versus, yeah. So 9.9 million, you got 1.8, you've got 1.2, that's 3 million. You've got 3.5 million out of the 9.9 is specific to Southeast.
Okay, 3 point what again?
3.5. That's a combination of the 1.8, the 1.2, and the 500,000.
Okay. Okay. So, but and much of these things that y'all were mentioning to me sounded like Southeast, and so the residents of Southeast need to make their desires known if they want zip zone and to be able to bypass downtown to go to work in Alliance Airport, Alliance area, or to go to Amazon, etc. To go through from Southeast downtown, and then that's one thing, but to go directly from Southeast to the Alliance area would be something totally different. So I'm just wanting to make that point for those who are in that area, because y'all made a significant point of that to me. Okay, so from what I understand, where you want the money to come from is from the City of Fort Worth budget.
General fund.
The general fund.
Yes.
Okay. Versus the other, you mentioned a half-cent that is currently going to what?
To the CCPD, Crime Control Prevention District, yes.
So are y'all having an opinion on that? Or y'all just want to just focus on the city budget?
We're focusing on the budget, yes.
Okay.
We do have an opinion, but right now we're focused on the budget. And we have expressed, I have been out expressing the valuation, the look of any tax money that's taxpayers of City of Fort Worth pay into this city, that all types of budgets and buckets should be available to review.
You know, I'll just add that the Crime Control Prevention District is there for crime control and prevention, and to reach out to other community groups that are working to improve the safety of the city of Fort Worth. And the voters voted CCPD to continue for another 10 years. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that money can't go towards improving safety for our citizens, especially those that are using a service that decreases the number of crashes that happen annually, I think by up to 20%, but don't quote me. I'll get you the actual numbers there. There's plenty of studies about how transit improves the safety of our citizens.
Okay, awesome. So, Karan, I heard you talk about we got a study coming on. Now, I've been here at the chamber for a little over a year, and this sounds like at least the second study I've heard about.
It's the fourth study, Daryl.
I'm talking about in the last year.
I'm with you there. I was involved with 2 8 years ago. So, Karan?
Well, yeah, Daryl, this is not a study. Actually, this is a project. So,
well, survey, right?
Yes, this is a survey. We at this time we are collecting information.
A survey and a study is the same thing to me out here on the street. You're doing a survey because you're studying what people think about this, that, and the other thing. And if I'm not correct, this is the second study that I'm aware of that in the last 12, 18 months. Am I not correct on that?
Yes, there is another survey or study, basically Transit Moves Fort Worth. But there is some difference here. We are addressing the ground level issues. If, for example, Route 25, crosstown route, It goes all the way in southeast to the western part of the city. Okay, and we would like to know like what part of the route is not working, and whether we can speed up the route, whether we need to increase the length of the service, whether we need to increase the frequency, something like that. It is more like grassroots. We want to reduce the wait time, improve the convenience of the riders right now. That's why we are saying that we are going to implement this next year.
Okay. So I understand we have some questions from Denise, from the audience. So Denise, go ahead and ask those questions, please.
Sure. So on our Facebook Live, we have from Rainey Doc Matthews, has the perspective of senior living longer, the silver tsunami and additional future need for extended public and paratransit transportation to get in on the front end. This also possibly means more and more people are disabled requiring transportation.
Was that a question
Yeah,
somewhere?
a question or comment, Denise?
It was a question.
Yes. What's the, probably want to hit her back. What's the question?
I think I know what Rainey's getting at with that. We definitely have an aging population in Tarrant County. There are more people that are seniors than there are the young people to take over the workforce. So from a workforce perspective, that's one issue entirely. But from a living in place, aging well, getting around, transportation plays into all of that, and especially the paratransit community that allows seniors who may be disabled or unable to drive to be able to live a more active life and a more independent life longer. And the more folks we have that are getting older, the more are going to need to use systems like the Access Paratransit service that Trinity Metro provides.
So what was the question that you were answering?
So basically, they were trying to find out if there's any future plans to need to extend public and paratransit transportation for this. They're calling it a silver tsunami because there's going to be about our seniors living longer because it's 2020. So they wanted to see if there's any kind of implementation happening with this or any plans to, basically.
Okay, what's the next question?
Okay, so Geoff Saber says, in terms of economic development, Fort Worth regularly competes with several similar cities, Austin, Phoenix, Nashville, etc. What do these cities have in terms of transit? Does this impact relocation or startup opportunities? What do these systems look like?
Rachel, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I can, that's maybe an offline question to give you the tour of what these systems look like. However, what I can say is that every single one of those that you listed has a better transit system than what Trinity Metro is currently able to provide our citizens with the funding that they have. And that absolutely affects how businesses decide if they're going to move to Fort Worth or if they're going to choose Dallas or Austin or Nashville for their corporate headquarters. And it changes how millennials decide, do I want to live in Fort Worth and have to drive around, or do I want to live in Nashville or Austin and maybe be a one car or no car family? So it's a lifestyle, it affects the lifestyle choice, but it also affects how companies are actually moving into cities to provide jobs, which goes to the point I was trying to make, that is how our tax base right now, we're really focused on residential and we're really high in Fort Worth because we don't have enough corporate taxes to offset that. So the more companies that come in, the less home taxes, property taxes our citizens have to pay.
And just to add to that, the other cities, to the answer to their question, they've made a commitment to the central business districts where there's large density of people. And so they have all of those cities, including Northwestern Hills and soon to be Grapevine, have TODs, transit-oriented developments. We do not have a one. So in Dallas, you go to VA Hospital, there's a transit line that runs all the way from VA Hospital South all the way north. There are TODs, transit-oriented developments in Dallas. There's transit-oriented developments in Austin. There are transit-oriented developments in San Antonio and Houston. City of Fort Worth does not have one, thus creating a gap, a desert of density relocation around a transit system that supports development, that supports the hospital district and those type of areas. And that's a major difference that we have.
So you bring up something that new kind of, Andre, with that, the transit-oriented development. Because I know that several months ago, I thought I saw those things being presented by Trinity Metro, Hewlin Mall being one, Ridgemar Mall being another. Is that not, did I get scratched?
So most of the ones, well, the ones we were focused on right now is at Vickery and Maine is a location right behind the condos where the old, the condo downtown are, but that's a development situation. But in North Richland Hills, you have a transit-oriented development right off of 820 and Ruth Snow coming up Iron Horse, near Iron Horse Golf Course. You have one downtown Grapevine. So as far as Trinity Metro, there's been a stall given the development, the gaps in development, the money gap that's on hold right now. So that's where that is, that particular one that you're speaking about.
So there's not enough money flowing towards that development from the city
it's
side.
got to be patient money. I think that commitment there right now. So I think we had meetings. I know when I was on the board about that particular site. So I think that's still on the drawing board.
Okay, I'm just saying. I just saw this. Like I said, this kind of keep coming around, and so here we are.
Right.
Several months later, and it's not on the board, but it was on the board, and we're looking at another survey to figure out what people want. Right. And I don't know. It seems like we're kind of going around and around, and I don't know. It seems like to me we could probably, take some go out on the street with about 30 people. Maybe that's not scientific enough. and come up with some answers. But anyway.
Well, hopefully Karan can answer the question, and come September when we're done, is that the last survey? How many more surveys do we need to do to validate everything that Karan has said? We did that 6 years ago when I was on the board. Nothing's changed. Access, mobility to jobs, express routes. Those are the same themes that came out when I was on the board 6 years ago. So I guess we're just saying it a different kind of way. So Karan, I guess the question becomes, is this the last survey?
I hope so. Actually, we want to just not confine to the surveys this time. We want to implement it.
Okay.
So we have the implementation timeline, a clear timeline in our project.
We'll make sure you're still here, Karan, when we get it implemented.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I know that we're right at 4 o'clock, and I usually try to stop about 5 or 10 minutes before, but we kind of got into this. So I'm just going to stop right here and thank everyone for coming. I appreciate Andre, you coming, Rachel, Ryan, I appreciate you guys coming. I know my questions sometimes a little probing.
No, that's good.
But hey,
good
that's who I am.
No.
So we look forward to your changes. And again, we want to ask you, Rachel, go ahead and tell us again the few things that you want people to do between now and whenever, so that changes can be made.
Rachel?
Yeah, will do. Okay, I'm going to share my screen one more time. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. There we go. Okay, so folks, your call to action is to...
in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Show up City Council, August 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. Ask them to fund all of Trinity Metro's budget requests. You can also speak at any of these town halls. If you need more information, go to tarranttransitalliance.org/public-meetings.
Awesome. I knew you could do that really fast, Rachel. Thank you. You can unshare your screen now. And with that, again, thank you, everyone. We look forward to our next opportunity to get together to find out about other economic development opportunities and situations for the city of Fort Worth, and I guess even the surrounding Tarrant County area. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to my cohort, Denise Babiche. Denise?
Thank you, Daryl. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on and joining us today on our weekly webinar every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Thank you to our panelists taking the time to come and answer some questions and letting us know a little bit more about what's happening in the community. Because sometimes you're living in the community and you don't know what's happening. So that's why it's so important to join these webinars and join these council meetings. Make sure that your voices are heard and that you're voting and have the knowledge to be able to make the right choices of voting. So I want to thank you all so much. Until next time. Again, if you would like to be a part of this series, just let us know. We do a different topic every week, and they're always targeted towards businesses, different resources for businesses, and just overall community awareness of things that are happening. So thank you so much, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday at 3 o'clock here on Zoom or on Facebook Live.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Denise.
y'all. Have a
Thank you,
great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.